For 5 years, Ukraine's government has been locked in a grinding battle with pro-Russian separatists in eastern Ukraine's Donbas region, with more than 13,000 Ukrainians killed. Over that period, the Kremlin has maintained it is not part of a war in which Russian soldiers, rebranded as volunteers, have joined in the fighting, while European powers have repeatedly tried and failed to negotiate an end to the violence. Against that backdrop enters a newcomer, Volodymyr Zelenskiy. A comedic actor made famous for a role playing an accidental Ukrainian president on TV, Zelenskiy won the real thing in a landslide election victory earlier this year, his central promise to voters to end the war in East Ukraine. Russian analysts say the Kremlin has taken note.
He promised peace. That was one of the most important points in his election campaign, and he tries to deliver. So we see a new flexibility on the Ukrainian side, which allowed to reach a couple of significant agreements on specific issues.
Successes include a mass prisoner exchange that took place this past September. And then last month, Russia returned 3 Ukrainian naval ships it had seized a year prior, a gesture that turned sour after Kiev accused Moscow of stripping the vessels into disrepair. Still, Russian polls indicate a Zelensky effect, as Russian attitudes hardened by state propaganda demonizing Ukraine have begun to soften.
He's just a very popular figure here in Russia. He played in those television games in Moscow some years ago. So he's just, and his image is better as opposing to the previous president. He's just more friendly, more open.
There were millions of people in Russia who saw these performances in movies and who loved that, who laughed at his jokes. He's funny, and an enemy shouldn't be funny. An enemy should be frightening, should be scary, and Zelensky is not.
But the laughs don't extend to Donbas, with Ukraine still looking to regain control over territory lost to pro-Russian rebels, and Russia insisting on special status for, and perhaps influence over, independent republics not even Moscow recognizes. Meanwhile, Zelensky faces other political challenges. His efforts to make peace with Moscow have alienated militant forces at home, while his cameo role in the impeachment hearings in Washington has put U.S. support for Ukraine in question just when Zelensky needs it most. Given the complexities, both sides are hinting an agreement to deliver Russian oil and gas through Ukraine to Europe may prove the easiest deliverable for these Paris peace talks. It's a smaller but important step towards rebuilding trust, and a tacit acknowledgement that Ukraine and Russia remain locked as neighbors, whether they like it or not. Charles Maynes for VOA News, Moscow.